Police in Britain are investigating whether parties held at Downing Street breached coronavirus lockdown regulations. The head of the Metropolitan Police said she understood there was deep public concern about the matter. Russia says it's greatly concerned by President Biden's decision to put thousands of US troops on alert as fears grow of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. A plane carrying US equipment and munitions has arrived in Kiev. 2 children, aged 6 and 14, are among 8 people killed in a crush outside a stadium at an Africa Cup of Nations football match in Cameroon. The President has ordered an investigation into the disaster. And the International Monetary Fund has downgraded its forecast for the global economy. It's removed half a point from global growth, cutting it to 4.4%. The IMF says Omicron will continue to delay growth.
We start here in Japan, where the government is expanding a quasi-state of emergency aimed at containing the coronavirus. Infections are surging nationwide at an unprecedented pace, largely fueled by the Omicron variant. Officials confirmed more than 60,000 new cases on Tuesday. The figure is a record high. 444 people are in serious condition, up 5 from the day before. More than half of Japan's 47 prefectures reported record case counts, including Tokyo. The quasi-state of emergency will cover 18 more prefectures, including Osaka, Kyoto, and Hokkaido, starting Thursday. It'll remain in place until February 20th. Officials say the measure is aimed at lessening the burden on the healthcare system. The government has also extended the quasi-state of emergency beyond the initial scheduled end date of January 31st in Okinawa, Yamaguchi, and Hiroshima prefectures. The measure allows local governments to impose targeted restrictions, including asking bars and restaurants to take alcohol off the menu, close early, or limit customers.
I guess stricter measures are inevitable. Nothing is more important than life.
I will go out less often.
The government is also shifting some of its protocols for diagnosing COVID-19 away from the nation's increasingly burdened doctors. People at low risk of becoming seriously ill will be allowed to check if they're infected by themselves. They would then need to report to their municipality if they test positive. And doctors will be able to diagnose close contacts of confirmed cases without conducting a test. Now, Omicron is running rampant across South Korea as well. Health authorities there reported 8,571 new cases on Monday, also a record high. Officials say the daily tally will likely top 10,000 by the weekend. Authorities are adjusting their antivirus measures to help the medical system cope. From Wednesday, the quarantine period for people who test positive after being vaccinated twice or more will be reduced from 10 days to 7. And vaccinated people deemed close contacts of infected individuals will not have to isolate. Well, the coronavirus is hindering Japan's push to provide aid to Tonga following this month's massive undersea volcanic eruption. Officials say 4 self-defense forces members involved in the mission have tested positive. They say 3 cases were confirmed on Tuesday and 1 on Monday. They all belong to a unit currently stationed in Australia. 36 other members are also isolating after being deemed close contacts. The Defense Ministry is considering the deployment of substitute personnel to complete the mission, which involves the delivery of drinking water and other key supplies. Now, Tonga's farmers are at risk of losing their livelihoods following the eruption. Agriculture is the country's main industry, but experts say the ash is killing their crops.
The volcanic ash will likely adhere to the leaves and other material of the plant that's above the ground, which will cause the leaves to lodge down and potentially collapse. It will inhibit photosynthesis, and even the ash potentially could cause a little bit of acidic damage to the plant as well.
Wilson says minimizing the damage must be a priority. Tonga relies on large amounts of vegetable exports, including pumpkins. A local industry official says the situation after the blast is especially bad on the island where the capital is located.
All the farms there, I think, are all affected from the ashes, and it's been, even more of a problem given that we haven't had any rain we need rain to wash the ashes off. All the crops are affected with the ashes, and some of them have died.
He says it'll take 3 to 4 months to improve the soil quality and resume farming. And he's calling for support from the government and neighboring countries. Several candidates have thrown their hats into the ring for the presidential election of Timor-Leste, formerly known as East Timor. Voting is scheduled for March, ahead of the 20-year anniversary of the country's independence. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Jose Ramos Horta has announced he'll run again, a decade after the end of his first term. He was a resistance leader in the battle for independence. Other contenders have also indicated their intention to join the race, including the incumbent, President Francisco Luolo Guterres. The Southeast Asian island nation gained independence from Indonesia in 2002, but it's been struggling with economic woes. About 90% of its national revenue relies on exports of oil and natural gas. Over 40% of the population is said to live in poverty. China has recently increased its presence there through infrastructure projects. Developing industries other than natural resources is a major challenge for the country. A South Korean military source says North Korea appears to have fired 2 cruise missiles on Tuesday. The North has fired 6 ballistic missiles on 4 occasions this year. The source said the missiles seem to have traveled quite a distance from an inland location, but did not reveal details, such as the launch site. It said the military was analyzing the launches together with U.S. forces. The last confirmed firing of a cruise missile by North Korea was in September last year. The country claimed at the time it successfully test-fired a new type long-range cruise missile. Last Wednesday, North Korea's ruling Workers' Party Political Bureau said at a meeting, hostile policy and military threats by the United States have reached a danger line that cannot be overlooked anymore. The North has been developing various weapons in line with its 5-year plan to bolster its defense capabilities. North Korea's repeated missile test firings apparently aim to help upgrade launch technology. Other possible motives include warning the U.S., South Korea, and their allies, as well as underscoring an intention to continue with its nuclear and missile development programs. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Matsuno Hirokazu said he's aware of the report.
The government continues to gather and analyze necessary information and monitor North Korea's military moves in close coordination with the United States, South Korea, and other countries.
Matsuno also said at the moment, the government has not confirmed the missile flew into Japan's exclusive economic zone or territory. In other news, the U.S. Navy says a fighter jet had an accident on an aircraft carrier in the South China Sea. 7 crew members were injured. The U.S. Pacific Fleet announced an F-35C stealth fighter had a landing mishap on the deck of the USS Carl Vinson on Monday, following a routine flight in the South China Sea. 4 of the injured were treated on board the carrier, while 3 were sent to a medical facility in Manila. All 7 are said to be in stable condition. The pilot ejected safely and was rescued by a helicopter. The U.S. Navy is investigating the cause of the accident. The Carl Vinson has been conducting maritime exercises in the South China Sea since Sunday with another nuclear-powered carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. The exercises come as China asserts maritime claims in the region. An exhibit in the United States featuring artwork from the Guantanamo Bay detention camp has been drawing mixed reactions from the public. About 100 works of art by current and former detainees at the U.S. prison in Cuba are on display at Old Dominion University in the state of Virginia. The university organized the exhibit to mark 20 years since the camp began housing detainees accused of involvement in terrorism. This model ship was made from materials obtained in the cell blocks. The masts were crafted from pieces of T-shirts, and the ropes were made of yarn from a knit cap. The Guantanamo detention camp was set up after the September 11th attacks in the U.S. in 2001. The facility has drawn international criticism because detainees were allegedly tortured. Most of the nearly 800 people held there have been released because their involvement in terrorism could not be proved. The artworks were made by those who have not been charged with a crime. A lawyer who helped bring the artwork from Guantanamo says the art is a way for detainees to fight despair.
They have been demonized just by the stigma of being at Guantanamo, and this is their way of saying we are people, we are human.
Some Americans who believe all Guantanamo detainees were involved in terrorism have protested what they see as an exhibit of works by terrorists. Japan's justice minister says that an advisory has been issued to a construction company over alleged workplace abuse suffered by a Vietnamese technical trainee. The 41-year-old trainee worked at the construction company in Okayama City, western Japan. He told the news conference last week he had been physically and verbally abused by his colleagues for the past 2 years. He was kicked by a colleague wearing safety boots and suffered a fractured rib. He's seeking an apology and compensation from the company. Justice Minister Furukawa Yoshihisa said on Tuesday the Organization for Technical Intern Training issued the advisory to the firm and its supervising body to better deal with the situation.
Human rights abuses, including violence toward foreign technical trainees, should never happen. I have instructed the Immigration Services Agency to take swift action.
The agency said it'll conduct a survey and may punish entities involved if legal violations are found. Shifting now to the weather, people living along the southeastern coast of the United States are set for downpours and thunderstorms, while those in other areas are preparing for a bitter blast. Our meteorologist Jonathan Noah has the outlook in our World Weather Report.
Hello, we are seeing a low-pressure system that's rolling near the Gulf Coast and the surrounding states, seeing plenty of wet weather associated with that. And as we go throughout the day on Tuesday into Wednesday, more moisture will be in the forecast here. Meanwhile, we have a cold front that's swiping through with high pressure just dragging in frigid weather. It's a bitter blast for those in the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes, and we are expecting chilly weather to be in place. And most of the snow will be gone and the rain off the coast, but we do still have some expectations for seeing some snow up into places like Winnipeg with a high of 2 on Wednesday. -11 in Chicago for the daytime high. It's going to be cold, so be on the lookout for that. Rain thunderstorms into Miami as we go into Wednesday, and so we're looking at that as we go through the day. Meanwhile, we're talking about some snow, plenty of it, into portions of Turkey. Here's a look at some of the video from Monday as authorities temporarily halted all flights at Istanbul airport while snow impacted transportation in the nation. 4,600 people were stranded, over 6,700 others were taken to shelters, and a roof of a cargo warehouse collapsed at Istanbul airport Monday, with this video showing several people walking around rubble inside the damaged structure during blowing snow. Much of the country hit by heavy snow since last week, coinciding with a winter holiday at many schools. That low still in the area, still expected to bring some snow into the region. Meanwhile, high pressure controlling the pattern up toward the north. Looking at single-digit highs from Vienna into Paris, 8 in London as we go through Wednesday. Across Japan, we do have a couple of areas of low pressure kind of scooting along here, so that's going to reintroduce the possibility of a little bit of snow into the northern areas of the country. Tokyo looking at partly cloudy skies, though, high of 11 degrees on Wednesday. That's a look at your forecast. Hope you have a good day wherever you are.